Good pasa YouTube, what's up everybody? Hopefully y'all are having a good Tuesday today. I have for y'all one hell of an RU Wi-Fi battle I had against Sharpedo43 off of my Discord. Typically when me and Sharpedo battle, as I mentioned before, we always have some pretty good close games, and this one was definitely one of them. And this really came down to the wire. So if you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to hammer arm that like button down below. Of course, make sure to answer the question of the day, which is right next to me, which is kind of playing off of yesterday's question of the day, which was what was your favorite Choice Specs Pokemon, except this time it is what is your favorite Choice Banded Pokemon, because on this team we have a Choice Banded Zygarde, which is actually really awesome, and that's the main reason why I wanted to try out this team. This was a team I got off of Harris's Discord. Not sure who did make it though, but I will leave a link to the paste bin down in the description. So going into this matchup, the immediate thing I noticed about Sharpedo's team is that he has no ground type. Along with having no ground type, he's got no Stealth Rock Pokemon, which means my Scarf Rotom Heat is basically free to just come in, click Volt Switch, and Revenge Kill as much as it would love to. Now, the only real thing stopping my Rotom Heat is, of course, the Blastoise, because I can't safely click Overheat against it, but it turns out that he actually ends up leading off with the Blastoise. As I Volt Switch on the incoming Roserade, I do end up getting a crit. Judging from that crit damage, he is definitely more of an offensive Roserade. Plus, I've never seen Sharpedo use defensive Roserade, and I have seen him use offensive Roserade before. So I Volt Switch into my Zygarde, then I'm going to pull a double switch into my Pangoro, because his best switch in to a Choice Banded 1000 Arrows is Cofagrigus. So I expected him to bring that in, and now I'm in a position where I really don't mind if his Cofagrigus wants to go for the burn, because all I need to do is get off a huge hit on the Cofagrigus in order for my Choice Banded Zygarde to come in and just click 1000 Arrows against his entire team. But he actually ends up switching into his Blastoise, which I end up doing a pretty solid 45%, and then I'm going to follow it up with a Drain Punch. I knew I wouldn't be able to knock him out, but I didn't want to possibly risk switching directly into my Chestnut on an Ice Beam or a Toxic, or into my Milotic on an Ice Beam or Toxic. Plus he could have maybe double switch expecting me to bring in one of those two Mons, so I felt it was better for me to just be aggressive this early on in the game, as I will be able to knock out the Blastoise. Don't really know why he went for Protect. Doesn't make any sense to me, but hey, he went for it. So in comes Meloetta, and I completely overlooked Meloetta in this match up until this moment, because honestly I don't have too much to deal with a Relic Song Z-move Meloetta, which is something he's brought against me before, so that's what I was kind of expecting this to be. So I do decide just to sack off my Pangoro, mainly because I don't want anything on my team being put to sleep. And if something on my team is put to sleep and then I have an almost dead Pangoro, that just puts me in a very bad scenario. So I'm going to end up bringing in my Rotom here, expecting him to maybe just want to stay in and try to weaken whatever I Volt Switch into, but he actually ends up switching into his Cofagrigus, and this is excellent for me because now I get a free switch into my Nidoqueen, which is going to allow me to get up my Stealth Rocks. And now with his Blastoise gone, he's got no way to get rid of my hazards, which is going to be really nice, especially if I'm able to get up a layer of spikes with my Chestnut later in this game, as he goes straight for the T-Spike. Now, I know him getting up a layer of T-Spikes in front of a Poison type may be a little bit odd, but if you look at my team, I don't really have too many Pokemon that don't touch the ground. Like, the only Pokemon that doesn't touch the ground is my Rotom Heat. So essentially, if I want to try and get rid of this T-Spike, and in order for my team to not get poisoned, I have to bring in Rotom, then switch back into my Nidoqueen to absorb the Toxic Spikes. And it turns out that he's got the knockoff, which is slightly annoying, but honestly him leaving in his Cofagrigus against my Nidoqueen so I can consistently wear him down is excellent for my Choice Banded Zygarde in the back, because at this point there's no way Cofagrigus switches in to two Choice Banded 1000 Arrows, making my Zydogo an even bigger threat to his team. Of course, the only issue with that is that I do not want my Zydogo to be poisoned, because if it comes down to it, I can live an Adamant Max Attack Life Orb Sucker Punch from the Honchkrow, and if I take that 12% from the T-Spikes, I'm in range of where Honchkrow knocks me out. So unless I E-Speed against the Honchkrow, he just clean knocks me out with the Sucker Punch after the Toxic Spikes damage, which is what I want to try and avoid. So I end up switching here here into my Rotom, expecting him to just want to go for the Protect once more, or even if he went for the Hex, that wouldn't have been entirely too bad because I would have been able to take that. As this turn, he unfortunately will be able to go for a Protect once more. There's nothing I can do about it, but I will be able to Volt Switch the following turn, and I'm not sure if that was a high roll or a low roll, but if it was a low roll, that is slightly annoying because he's still able to get up one layer of T-Spikes, and it was a very good play on his part to have gone for that T-Spike on my Volt Switch, knowing that I would try to bring back in my Nidoqueen. So at this point, I will be able to get rid of his Cofagrigus, thus getting rid of, again, his only answer to my Zydogo, which is really good so far for me in this game. However, though, back comes Meloetta, which is still absolutely terrifying. Not to mention that he still has a Honchkrow in general in the background that can just come in, click Brave Bird, and possibly just OHKO something on my team or get off a huge hit on my offensive Rotom Heat. So I'm going to switch directly into my Milotic here because I am poisoned. I don't have to worry about him putting me to sleep, and because my Marvel Scale is activated, I will be able to live any close combat or potential return or Ice Punch or Zen Headbutt or something to hit my Nidoqueen as I brought in my Milotic. So this turn, I expected him to either want to switch into the Roserade or go for his Z move this turn. Now, a Z move would straight knock out my Nidoqueen on the switch-in. So I was expecting him to just knock out my Nidoqueen, or I was expecting to sack off Nidoqueen to his Roserade, which I know is a little bit odd considering that he does have the Heliolisk in the back, but depending on the set of the Heliolisk will determine on how I can play around it. If it's Specs, it's outsped by my Zygarde and by my Rotom. If it's Scarfed, then I can play around what it locks himself into. So I'm going to switch back in here to my Milotic after he knocks out my Nidoqueen. As he goes for the Zen Headbutt, I can only think that he went for Zen Headbutt because he's trying to flinch me, or maybe he thought I would switch into my Chestnut, but realistically, I don't have to do that. Now, unfortunately, after that Zen Headbutt damage, he does put me in range of where any stab Z move will be able to knock me out, but that's perfectly fine because honestly, Milotic wasn't doing entirely too much in this game. Like, yeah, it's a nice fat mon for him to try and break through, but damage output wise, it's not doing enough to where I think I need to save it. Like, maybe it would have been nice to sack off to the Heliolisk to see what it potentially locked itself into, but outside of that, and maybe trying to weaken this Meloetta, it's not really doing anything else. So this does give me a free switch into my Rotom, and I can just click Overheat here. With his Blastoise gone, nothing is switching into Overheat. Honchkrow is going to get OHKO'd after Rocks, Roserade's getting OHKO'd, and Heliolisk is getting absolutely blown back. So I essentially just claim a life here. As down goes the Meloetta, in comes this Honchkrow. I was so painfully close to staying in here and going for the Overheat, not wanting to risk him having the substitute, but he makes an excellent play, pursues me, and gets off a huge amount of damage. Too much to the point where I can no longer live a Sucker Punch from this Honchkrow, and that's really bad. I essentially switched into my Chestnut more or less as death fodder, and I'm just gonna spike here thinking that maybe he would just go straight for the Brave Bird and he would take all that recoil damage along with the Life Orb, but he actually switches into the Roserade, and the fact that I'm able to get up that one layer of spikes is absolutely huge, because at this point it's dawning on me that my best way of winning this battle, if his Heliolisk is Choice Scarf, which is very likely that it is Choice Scarf, is to lock myself into Choice Banded, not Outrage, but Choice Banded Extreme Speed with my Zygarde. Now, the only issue with that is that even after Rocks and a layer of Spikes, it is only about a 50% damage roll in order for me to knock out the Heliolisk in one hit. Now, I ended up getting a crit there with the Drain Punch. I'm not sure if that entirely mattered, but it was honestly a misplay on my part that I went for the Drain Punch. I 100% should have gone for the second layer of Spikes instead of trying to go for the Drain Punch, because realistically I didn't need that extra damage on the Roserade. So I guess the crit kind of made up for me misplaying there, because I was able to then live the Giga Drain and get up the second layer of Spikes. And what the second layer of Spikes guarantees me is that now I have an 87% chance to OHKO the Heliolisk, unless for some reason he's running bulk investment in it, which typically I don't think I've ever seen a bulk invested Heliolisk. Also, there's a chance that I may not even get the roll in my favor, because I've been in those scenarios before where I have a high chance to knock something out and then of course I don't get it. So what I'm gonna do here is, after knocking out the Roserade, I'm actually gonna decide to switch back into my Rotom, because what this allows me to do is if he is a Life Orb variant, then I can get off that extra 10% damage on the Heliolisk to guarantee that an extreme speed from Choice Banded Zygarde will be a straight OHKO after rocks and 2 layers of spikes. So he knocks me out with the Hyper Voice, doesn't have the Life Orb, and it just comes down to whether or not this extreme speed gets the roll in my favor. And thankfully, because my Zydogo is well trained, that's a good boy, we're going for a walk after this game, I will be able to knock out the Heliolisk. In comes the Honchkrow, because extreme speed is +2 priority, as where Sucker Punch is +1 priority. I will be able to prioritize him, and after rocks, guarantee knocking him out with the E-speed, and that is going to be the very narrow 1-0 victory in my favor. Man, this match literally just came down to a damage roll on whether or not I was able to win this. So I really think it was a good battle. Like, win or lose, this was a really good game. I would have uploaded this anyways. And Sharpedo did actually beat me in the last battle we had, so yeah, had to upload this one for sure. But if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to hammer arm that like button down below. Again, let me know in the comment section below what is your favorite Choice Banded Pokemon to use. And with that being said, I will see you all tomorrow with another Wi-Fi battle. So later, everybody.
No matter where you're at, I'm not here to make friends. It's time to attack and deplete your HP with a final smash. Don't make me turn around and pull a 6-foot hacks. 6'6" hacks. Yeah. 6'6" hacks. Yeah. 6'6" hacks.